Sitting in his kitchen, drinking a bit of tea.
No, dude, that's a cup of nails. For sure.
Yeah, it's a cup of nails.
So, bro, what the last feat that you did? Correct me if I'm wrong. It was the 2,000 miles. The 2,000 miles.
That was right. That was right. Yeah. So the swim around Great Britain.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're just good at floating?
That was basically no. It was. I mean, that was an idea that went like terribly right or wrong depending on how you looked at it. But yeah, it was like a sportsman's bet basically. That a friend of mine, we ended up catching up. We had the Royal Marines here in England, and I did a 48-hour swim just to see where I was at in terms of training. Swam like 180 kilometers. And I got out and I had like trench foot basically. So it's where your hands and your feet and everything, they've just got so much moisture in that they're going moldy basically. Ugh. And I was, like it was a bad place. I'm sitting there and I'm putting talcum powder on and I'm trying to basically like, nurse my wounds. And then one of the Royal Marine officers came over to me and was just like, he said like, you boy, he goes, what are you doing? And I said, I'm training. I'm training for the world's longest current neutral swim, which is like a swim somewhere like Bermuda where it's like current neutral. He just looked me up and down and he said, can I be honest with you, young man? I said, yeah, please do. And he went, that just sounds a bit shit. I was like, what do you want me to do about it? And he said, mate, you just need to man up and swim around Great Britain. So I was like, all right, fine. Oh my God. Shook his hand. And I was like, right, I'll see you when I get back. And then I got back 157 days later.
Wait, sorry, whoa, slow down. Bro, so you shook his hand and you just jumped in the fucking water and swam around Great Britain? Is that what you're saying to me right now?
Basically. So how it works is you swim like 6 hours on, 6 hours off. So you work with the tide and then against the tide. So it doesn't matter if the tide changes at 2 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Like you just get in. And there was times when I was scraping like a thin layer of ice off my wetsuit before I could put it on. Just had to crack it basically. Also as well, like I don't know if you know, but you get something called salt tongue. So the human body's not meant to be in the water for this amount of time. Yeah. So I'm swimming, 12 hours a day, 157 days, swimming. I remember after 2 weeks, the salt water takes all the moisture from your tongue. So it basically starts to rot. I'm sitting in the galley in the kitchen and the cook, Suzanne, she's made like this amazing vegetable soup. We're all chowing down like that. And I look over to the captain and it was this vegetable soup. And I looked over and I noticed that mine had like pork or chicken in it or something. And I said, how come yours hasn't got pork or chicken? Yeah. How come mine's just got meat in? And he just leant over into my bowl. He said, that's not pork or chicken. That's your tongue.
Oh! Why'd you say that? Stop, dude. God dang.
So, if you find yourself in a similar situation, coconut oil, because it lubricates the tongue.
If I find myself in a situation where my tongue is now the main ingredient of a soup, I'm not going to be asking what oil to put on. I'm going to go to the hospital, bro. So is that, because I was going to ask you what the hardest part of this journey was. Would your tongue being an accoutrement to a soup be the hardest part or what?
So Mike, you're right. Like, leaving parts of my tongue like around Great Britain, that wasn't pleasant. But probably the worst, it's called Corryvreckan in Scotland. It's a giant whirlpool, one of the biggest whirlpools in the world. And they were like, look, ships have gone down, people have lost their lives. This is no joke. Like you swim and you swim hard. So I was like, all right, cool, no worries. So I'm swimming like that. And as I swim, I'm looking at my watch and I'm checking. I've got to swim for 6 hours through this giant whirlpool. So I'm swimming. As I'm going through like that, I get stung by a jellyfish. They've got these giant jellyfish in Scotland, about 5 meters long.
Wow.
Bad. Like, just like, the best way I can describe it to you is like, imagine someone's got a hot poker and they're just pressing it against your face. Because it was at night as well, so I couldn't even see.
I actually have the picture here. I opened up the brief that you guys sent me. And by the way,
great brief.
Great brief. Dude, the file titles are hilarious. 15,000 calories a day. Arm of jellyfish to face. Giant jellyfish
swimming in poo.
Swimming in poo.
Yeah, shout out to the guys over at
foot.
Shout out to the guys at Gymshark for putting that together because they did a great job on that.
Ross, this jellyfish is bigger than me.
Oh, you've got it there. You can see it now.
We're looking at it right now. This is huge.
Right. So it was one of those, basically, lion's mane. And like it basically when you're swimming at night, you can get one of those, like you just get Like, there's no other way to describe it. You just basically motorboat a jellyfish, just smack straight to the face. I'm swimming through the Corrie of Ecken, but I can't stop because it's a giant whirlpool. So I'm swimming as hard as I can. And this jellyfish sting, this one in particular, it just won't go away. Like I said, it's like someone's pushing a hot poker onto your face. I'm swimming. For another 3 hours, I stop and I'm dribbling because my face is now paralyzed. And I turned to Matt, the captain, and I said, Matt, I'm so sorry. I said, I need to stop. I said, I've been stung by a jellyfish. And I said, the pain, it won't go away.
Oh, no.
He looked down at me from the boat and he just said, yes, I know, because it's still wrapped around your face. I'd been wearing a jellyfish through the Corrie of Ecken, through this whirlpool.
Is that?
And then
how is that something you miss?
Because I couldn't stop, Logan. If I stopped, I would have been pulled down into the whirlpool. So I couldn't stop. So I'm swimming.
It's a tricky situation.
I turn around. I mean, I won't repeat what I said. I pulled away the tentacle, threw it away, and then my face had been stung so bad it changed shape. So I looked like, the Elephant Man, and then my goggles wouldn't fit back on my face, so I had to punch them into my eye socket.
I have the video here. Hold on.
That is not pleasant.
It absolutely teabagged me.
It teabagged you.
I'm getting the hang of this whole Great British Swim Mark, and then just when I think I've got this whole thing figured out, jellyfish.
Dude, I love how you just got fucked in the face by a jellyfish and you're making jokes about it.
What is this place in Scotland? Because you're telling me there's a whirlpool, there's giant jellyfish, and I believe, is this the same area that the Loch Ness Monster supposedly resides in as well?
Yeah, so similar. So that's a lot. So that's inland.
Okay.
So yeah, that all exists up there. You've got basking sharks. What the? We had orcas as well. I remember we got a phone call from a marine biologist, and they said, "Oh, just checking, is that guy still swimming around Great Britain?" And they were like, "Oh yeah." and they went, "Okay, so we've got good and bad news." And they were like, "We've just seen a pod of orcas." So they were like saying, the good news is there's never been a reported case of an orca fatality in the wild. Like, they're so intelligent, they know that you're not a seal, so they know you're not on the menu. But they were like, but with that said, if they're going to eat anyone, it's probably Ross, because he's spending like 157 days in the sea.
Yeah, just statistically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then they were like, just try to look less like a seal. And I was like bulked up at that point. I was like, how do you look less like a seal? So I'm swimming, avoiding jellyfish, and now orcas, thinking like, this is a terrible way to spend the summer.
I commend you, because I'm one of the people that can't swim in deep water because of stuff like that, like orcas. No, I'm not gonna fuck with those.
but the thing is, and this is what I've been so keen to chat to you guys about, like, since coming back on land and everyone said, like, why did you do it? I think what's been so good, Mike, you mentioned Gymshark. One thing that's so good, we've been speaking to like the sports psychiatrist there, almost trying to figure out like what was going on inside my own head. And one thing that, if you look back through history as humans, we've always been going on these pilgrimages, these like, I call it an okugaki. I lived with some Japanese monks we basically, Yamabushi monks. You go on a pilgrimage out there, you do a marathon a day in the mountains, and you meditate under ice cold waterfalls. And the reason you do this is it's kind of like Einstein, adversity introduces you to you. You realize this honest version of yourself. You remove your ego because you're just absolutely battered physically and mentally. And I think the reason I want to chat to you guys, and Logan specifically, with the boxing, I think for you at the time, watching that whole journey, a lot of people were like, why is he doing it? He's got all this money. He doesn't have to do it. Mike, similarly as well, when you just had like a really cool job, successful at marketing, why uproot and move? But there's this idea of going on a pilgrimage, an okugaki, that, even looking at Maasai warriors going out and hunting a lion, the Aborigines going walkabout, it's a rite of passage.
Right.
I suppose I wanted to ask, did you feel something similar? Because a lot of people are like, why swim around Great Britain? And I'm like, why not? We've been doing it through history. Have you experienced something like in a weird way? Did you get that?
Yeah, absolutely. But the things that I've done, I feel like are dwarfed by the feats that you've accomplished, because you're really pushing yourself, from what it seems anyways, to the brink. Like right up to the edge of what you're capable of. And I'm not even sure if that's true, but for me, I love chaos. I love throwing myself in environments that are going to make me uncomfortable, stuff I'm not good at. And then I love the idea of growth. If you can always leave room to be better, and gain a skill, improve in some capacity, I think your life is going to be fulfilling for the entire time. And that's what happened with boxing. It was just a new challenge to overcome, and it changed my life. Like I found out and discovered so much about myself as a human. Like what you said is you beat the shit out of yourself. You put yourself mentally and physically through these insane challenges, and you just strip off the layers. So the first one to go is ego for me. Every time I do physical, like we did at the beginning of the year, what was it? Like a 72-hour Marine Army challenge.
Training, yeah.
And the first one to go is the ego, because I got a big fucking mouth. I'm always like, I can do anything. I'm the fucking most baddest. And I'm not. And so then ego, and then it's like humility, and you discover who you really are in the face of adversity.
Yeah, it's exactly that. But even looking at and this gets a bit deep, but when you start looking at like Aristotle, and he starts talking about eudaimonia, this idea, because they believed, the ancient Greeks were like, happiness is a bad word because it kind of just means that you should be happy with no suffering, no labor. You shouldn't have to struggle to get there. Whereas with eudaimonia, Aristotle used this term because he's like, no, you need to earn it. There should be struggle. There should be like some form of suffering to get there. It's this idea that right now, if you were handed £1 million, you'd probably be happy. You'd be like, wicked, I got £1 million. But it's not eudaimonia. And it's this whole idea. Aristotle said that, happiness without fulfillment is failure. And it's one thing that I've always found that, with everything that I've done, when I've done, swam for 157 days around Great Britain, I did a triathlon with a 100-pound tree on my back, raised loads for charity.
Oh, we know.
Yeah, there's this, but I was in pursuit of eudaimonia. And I think it's so interesting that you just said exactly what you did, where you were suffering. I mean, I'm a massive fan of the podcast, and I loved Ryan Garcia, of a Gymshark athlete, obviously, but also Chuck Liddell, and drawing a comparison between what those two said. When you said to Chuck, why did you do it? Was it the money? Was it fame? You were huge at the time. And he just said, I just love fighting.
Yep.
It was the process. It was eudaimonia. It was intrinsic motivation where the process is its own reward.
Absolutely.
And Ryan said something similar.
The most successful people we've talked to on this show iterate that same idea. And I preach this all the time. Like, happiness is not a destination. It is a journey. It is an ever-changing quest. And I don't love the idea of trying to find happiness. If you can do these little accomplishments and complete tasks in your life, both through struggle and failure specifically, you're going to come out that much more well-rounded of a person.
That is exactly it. And that's one thing as well. I think that whole idea of, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation that, on the swim, I remember coming back down the other side of Scotland, just thinking, like, if I finish this and no one's there, there's like the media don't care. There's no records. No one cares. It's just like my mum, my dad, my girlfriend, we have a pizza.
Yep.
Like, will that be okay? And for me, I was just like, yeah, like I just want to be a weird old man who goes anywhere on the coast in Great Britain now and just stands there in my trunks going, I swam around there. Like,
that's so sick. That's so sick.
Yeah. And so, and I think sometimes identifying that before you go on the journey is so important, because when you started the boxing, you were like, am I doing this for the right reasons? And there's no right or wrong reason.
Yep.
But I think if you say, I'm doing it for money, I'm doing it for gold medals. I know a lot of my friends who were Olympians who were just like, I'm just doing it for a gold medal. I don't care. I don't even like the sport. I'm doing it for a gold medal.
Damn.
I'm like, cool, as long as you know that. And I love what you said, remove the ego. Don't lie to yourself, because when you're there getting punched in the face, when you're swimming around and your tongue's falling off and you've got jellyfish like teabagging you and wet willying you in the ear.
Yeah.
So you're doing it intrinsic, extrinsic.